Okay, so we're just going to be doing the dice roll. Probably one of the biggest dice rolls, if not the biggest dice roll of these players' day. And it looks like they both straight away rolled into a 10. It looked like an 11 following that up and an 11 again. They are matching each other points for points and dice roll for dice roll right this very minute. Hopefully we can get this one moving because we've got 45 minutes. So there we go. The dice roll has finally been decided. It looks like we're going to be starting this duel for the final round here at the UK Open.
Yes, and now that you're seeing those deck names, you might remember better Darwin from round 3. It has that branded deck with the idol, the star of the match. Let's see, because he has won the die roll, and this is a big win, but let's see if Corey will allow this to go through. We see the impermanence.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves on this one, though, as we do know that Darwin has faced this down exactly pretty similar last time.
Wow.
Very similar than last time. We have just seen that Corey has taken as his first card off the top of the deck will be the brand new 7th Tachyon that was just released in Maze of the Master. It looks like we're going to be revealing number 104, which will allow him to work his way into another level 4 light monster from the deck, being one of those all-important Ryziel monsters. So this is one of the best ways to start. The only downside is you don't want to be fearing you don't want to be facing a Drum and Lockbird. As we previously know, Corey does not know, there are no hand traps in Darwin's main deck outside of the standard Bestial, Magnamut, and of course Saronir.
Yeah, we have been talking a little bit about this impact from Maze of the Master, and it's nice to finally see it and actually being completely undefeated right here from Corey. It is true that in round 3, Darwin did face this exact opener where just one interruption stopped his play. I think the end from his opponent looks quite different, though.
Ooh, responding with a Forbidden Droplet. This is quite interesting strategy from Corey because obviously he knows he doesn't need to be sending with the X'd a Agitator. There's nothing on the field to negate, but being able to still utilize your normal summon in the form of the Ice Ryziel is going to allow this board to continue to expand.
Darwin obviously was hoping to return the favor and that just one interruption would have been enough. Definitely not the case here, and you can see him smiling a little bit, not too happy about this.
Yeah, getting hard access to the Ryziel Cross is still going to be very, very effective because it means that the next summon that Corey makes, as long as it is an XYZ summon, as he is currently locked under those thanks to the 7th Tachyon, and as long as it is a Ryziel monster, he will have the ability to negate a monster effect. Kind of allows to play around a little bit of some sort of forms of interaction, but just being able to detach 2 from the duo driver and grab himself 2 Ryziel cards can be very, very important. So it looks like we're going for the Ryziel Sword and the Ryziel Node. Darwin still has 3 more cards in his hand. One of them could very well be a Bestial. We saw how much work the Bestial Magnamut put in for him during round 3. It was kind of see, I feel that there might not be as effective targets for the Ryziel strategy, but if you hit them at the right moment, that might derail their plans. But it does look like we're going to be working our way into that all-important detonator as well.
And although this looks more like a pure version of Ryziel, let's not forget that the Mitsurugi is also in the deck. So, are we going to just push a lot of damage, or what's the goal here from Corey?
Yeah, I feel you kind of want to get this game 1 tied up as early as you possibly can. Try and put as much aggression on the board, especially when we're utilizing stuff like Eclipse Twins. We've got Detonator currently sitting at 3,000 attack, not to mention the attack stat changes that Duo Drive may provide. I believe it's Ice Ryziel that was negated with Forbidden Droplet, so we need to remember that the attack is halved on that, I believe.
Wasn't it X? I think
was it X? Yeah, correct. Yes, it was X. Yes, correct. So still a very good normal summon. It looks like we're going to get the draw off of the back of Cross. I think Corey is just trying to do the maths in his head to see if there is enough on the field to complete lethal. And going down for a second Ice Ryziel should be enough to take it here.
Absolutely. That's enough. So game 1 quickly goes to Corey. And
there we go. So we're going to be starting off in game number 2. We can see that there is an Ash Blossom in Corey's hands. So this could be the very first interaction that Darwin needs to deal with. And here comes the Fusion deployment. Very interesting if an Ash Blossom is used here. I feel you could very easily reveal for access to Cartasia, or of course you can go for an Albaz. And it looks like we're going to be chaining the branded opening as well. Discarding the Tragedy.
That's great.
Oof, very, very good combo back from good old classic branded plays, being able to get advantage off of the discard for the Tragedy, as well as then getting advantage off of the branded opening and working all of its way back to the Fusion deployment. Being locked into Fusion, something that I can't imagine would be anything that Darwin is too worried about with this branded strategy.
Definitely not. And yeah, this is a premium opener where you can play around cards such as Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence, which have, proved to be quite annoying for Darwin in the previous rounds.
Yeah, so we still have the Cartesia Fusion play. You could ideally believe that Darwin would probably want to work his way into the Grand Grignol at some point. We're just trying to resolve the Tragedy, which of course can work its way into the Aluba Jester, and this in turn will work its way into Branded Fusion. Now, most players, when they are facing Branded, know or pretty much try to hold the Ash Blossom for that Branded Fusion, and it looks like we are sending Branded in High Spirits. Very, very interesting choice here. So Darwin definitely has been piloting Branded for long enough. He should be able to know when to kind of, as I mentioned previously, through round 3, not to rely on Branded Fusion as much. And I think this type of play and piloting is really going to show that, that the Branded have so much more to offer, and being able to kind of play around some of Corey's interactions that he may or may not have.
But yeah, unfortunately, when you play around in Impermanence and Veiler, they do have the Ash Blossom, and that is the case for Corey. Plan B is in motion, so let's see how Darwin will maneuver through this.
Yeah, looks like we're going to be able to produce a Fusion Summon off of the back of the Cartesia going into the Grand Grignol. This will still allow Darwin to produce a bit more advantage on the field, as well as trying to work with whatever else he may have in the hand. Keeping in mind that we do know he plays Fusion Duplication, that can definitely be a way to gain access to the Mirror Jade, and just being able to send the Albion as well can allow him to gain access to the Branded in Red, and these can just kind of start to, before you know it, snowball into very interactive fields to kind of help either stop Corey building the field, or being able to disrupt it when it gets going.
Yeah, and although interactive fields are interesting, Darwin has mentioned that Ido, the Supreme Magical Force, has another, not so interactive way of playing during his opponent's turn, which could be the case here.
Yeah, so we're being able to add back the Branded High Spirits, and we've confirmed that we have set the Branded in Red off the back of the Albion. So as we mentioned before, this can work into a multitude of different fusion targets, which can provide, as you've already mentioned, either a very, very slowed down lock grind game with the Ido, or of course it can be a little bit more aggressive and work its way into the Guardian Chimera.
We start once more with the X.
Very interesting there. Chain blocking the X, of course, with the Adjugator in order to negate the Grand Grignol.
Yeah, I think it's Sword. And it's going to be up to Darwin to pretty much decide when he wants to use his Branded in Red at this point.
Yeah. Like we've mentioned before, there's plenty of different options that he may be able to choose from that Branded in Red. We know that there is the Aluba in the graveyard that can be utilized, and of course the discard of the Despian Tragedy. So either of those can be the correct targets in order to add back to the hand and then Fusion Summon. It just really comes down to where he would like to proceed from there. Keep in mind that Cartesia is still live, and there is still the effect of the Grand Grignol that can be utilized in the graveyard later on, even though it is negated on the field currently with the Adjugator.
And yeah, we go for Cartesia.
Ooh.
Into the second Grand Grignol. Okay. Don't see it every day.
Very, very interesting on this one. So it looks like we're going to attempt to activate the Grand Grignol's effect. Is there any response?
There's
the Ido.
There comes the Ido.
See the small little smirk there on Corey's face. I believe he saw this coming. It looks like Darwin is going to move pretty fast in being able to resolve this and not allow his opponent to work his way into either a detonator or, of course, the duo drive, which is definitely the right port of call. Maybe you might want to have done it a little bit earlier to kind of stop the field presence, but even then you should still have enough aggression on the field to do with what you need to.
I was about to say that we even have AIRPODS, but luckily it was in the end.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to be able to resolve the Sanctify. We still have Quem as well, which looks like that can provide a little bit more field presence for Darwin as well.
And yeah, if that's going to resolve, it could make Corey's turn completely end here, as he won't be able to summon further. Yeah, that's you can hear, asking confirmation about it.
Just trying to clarify exactly what they need to do. Now, unlike the Nightmare Puppet, it doesn't linger. So it is something that if you are able to remove the Ido from the field, they'll be able to continue to make the summons. But it's very, very tricky to not be able to summon in general in order to try and present some sort of field and get yourself out of the lock.
But it doesn't seem like he has a way out at the moment. There are only a few cards, to be fair. It's not like too many that can out it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Forbidden Droplet usually being the premium one. And if that is the case, we could totally just go into game 3 with this Ido. Just once again, Ido being the MVP for Darwin.
Yeah, I feel as Corey thinks about it, it's still probably worth making Darwin work for this one. Yes, Ido is still a very, very hard block, but from Darwin's perspective, he will need to make sure that he can get enough field presence to complete the OTK or complete the 8,000 attack stat swing without letting that Ido leave the field. You don't really want that Ido going anywhere until you know you can guarantee that.
And yeah, you can see Corey is just passing back. I mean, struggling to find a way out of this lock, which means Darwin gets to play once more.
Yeah, so we already know that Darwin currently holds a branded in white, which is a counterpart to branded in red. Different type of fusion spell, but still near enough the exact same outcome. And it looks like by switching all of these monsters to attack, he's going to try and push for lethal. We should have the ability with the Albion in the graveyard as well to try and attempt to work his way into a Mirror Jade if there is another Albaz accessible to him.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. It looks like there isn't another Albaz available to him. So it doesn't look like there's any fusion targets he can make off the branded in white currently. Maybe there is some other plays. We do know that he has the branded in high spirits that could lead him to, of course, an Albaz or a route to present that Mirror Jade to the field.
We know quite a few cards. We also know the Tragedy that was added by the branded in red but not used. And
correct. It looks like we're going to be using the Cartesia effect to fusion summon with the
Ad libitum.
Ad libitum, to make its way into the Quinteris. Quinteris will obviously be allowed to adapt some attack stats at this particular point, but keep in mind it's only fusion monsters that it doesn't affect, or level 8 or higher fusion monsters, so the Aluba and the Quem are still within those remits to lose their attack stats as well.
And yeah, Quem is going to be used, and now we're going to have a full field of monsters to play with.
I think they're just trying to calculate the maths here as if there's enough, and it looks like we're going to be working our way into the battle phase.
Yep.
Yeah, so Quinteris over the Ext, and then he's going to deal with the Ido and the Sword, and then there's a Grand Grignol, a Sanctifier, and a Luba to push in for the damage.
Something like this, yeah. And then, let's see. Not quite enough to seal the game right away unless we are going to push more. No, we are not. Okay.
We need to remember that the Ido needs to return to Darwin's graveyard on this one. Maybe there is another way of bringing the Ido back. Yeah, and I think that's what they've just corrected here. Correct. Leaving Corey on 700 life points is a very, very interesting approach here.
Especially because we do have the Masquerade in the side deck, but I don't think it might have not been sided in already. Usually it's when time is about to approach.
Correct. The Cartesia being negated by the Infinite Impermanence has been allowed to resolve, so that is actually massive.
Yeah, it's massive because now we are kind of locked. We don't really have a way to just special summon anymore and just get rid of our field.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to continue to go through the Raziel strategies, being able to go with X straight away being the most ideal one you could possibly imagine to have in the hand, sending the Eclipse Twins, working the way into the Raziel Sword, which will allow it to special summon to the field and provide itself with even more advantage, working its way ultimately to maybe your normal summon, if you want it to be in the form of the Ice Raziel, while also trying to maintain an additional special summon of another level 4 monster to open up the door to some of your rank 4 plays.
Yeah. It's a big issue because, as mentioned, without this Cartesia, we cannot use the Albion Sanctifier, not having a space on our side of the field. That cowboy could have been nice for the other way around.
Nice for Darwin,
yes. Oof, and here comes the Exeter Knight. That's so huge.
Very, very big field clearance on this one. Does Darwin have a response to this? Is there a branded opening in the graveyard? There is a branded opening.
Okay.
Oh, and it looks like the branded in High Spirits was the card that was set along the spell and trap zones.
This might actually come back to hurt him, but yeah, at least we...
Yeah, this is where we're about to see the Mitsurugis come into their own. Obviously, the standard play of this one would be to get hold of the Ritual Monster in order to destroy all monsters his opponent controls. There is still the effect of the Grand Grignol, which could be semi-effective. And we also have the Sanctifier Dragon, who is still now active. Thankfully, Corey has cleared the field for Darwin to open up some spaces, and that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here, is the Sanctifier Dragon is going to give the Ido, meaning that Corey cannot summon any more monsters.
That's big. Yeah, this accident, unfortunately, maybe we didn't think about the protection effect in Graveyard, because at the end of the day, probably made Darwin life better by allowing him to set up this idle lock once more.
Yeah, this idle log is going to be very, very big. You've also got to keep in mind exactly how many cards. I think this is what Darwin's going to need to keep an eye on, is when can that Exton Knight activate again and when can it not? Currently, with Corey having 4 cards in the hand, plus the Exton Knight and now the Ido, there's 6 cards on Corey's side. So yeah, Darwin should well and truly be a little bit safe around that. Just moving into the battle phase. It looks like he's going to go for the...
That also does
There we go, reveal the Mirror Jade, knowing exactly what he's going to want to go into here. Going to be going for the full LAVALIER, discarding the card. And
I mean,
yeah.
It seems like finally Darwin has been able to access his AIRPODS, getting rid of this Exciton. And yes, Corey has seen enough. The score is tied. Here they are. Who is it going to be? Corey and his White Zeal Mitsurugi deck, or Darwin and his underdog, we could say, branded strategy?
Excellent, with both players with a great big smile on their face, about to draw probably the biggest 5 cards, definitely of the entire day as well. And it looks like Corey's opened up very well.
Solid end from Corey. Starting off with that ice, and as we would expect, we are not really going to see many interruptions, at least during his own turn, from Darwin.
Yeah, it's very, very big that you can also see that Corey is sitting on the Ash Blossom, Branded's biggest nemesis in the current game, alongside a Call by the Grave. So any particular type of hand trap that Corey may be expecting is not going to be a threat of that one. It allows him to play a little bit more freely, not needing to worry about an Ash Blossom on his own duo drive. And then also turning that into a very, very powerful form of interaction during Darwin's turn, so that if a tragedy was discarded, that could very, very easily deal with it. And any time an Aluba or anything else along those lines do get sent to the graveyard, that could be a massive turning point as well.
Obviously, having drawn the cross, we are just going to add more follow-up alongside this node.
Yeah, working our way from a duo drive into the cross, working it into what's possibly going to be a detonator, being able to special summon out the EX as well. 21 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time left as well. Hopefully we don't need to see that Gargaga Cowboy come into use on this one, and being able to set up that all-important and incredibly powerful detonator.
But once more, I do see a ritual. Well, we have been cut off this Mitsurugi engine. Obviously, the Feralim, King of Feralims, has been, a card that allows to breach these 2 engines, but maybe we'll just go for an Abyss Dweller. Let's see what Corey thinks is the right decision here. It is going to be the Abyss Dweller.
I feel that is definitely the safer option. Yes, of course, you can move into the Mitsurugis, but that's something you could possibly do during your second turn, being able to put your opponent under as much restrictions as possible, including something like an Abyss Dweller, backed up with a detonator, can probably be the more solid choice.
Absolutely. And, I mean, well spotted, he activates the Abyss Dweller right away, so he can just get this additional draw off the cross, and most likely we're just going to see this one phase.
7th Tachyon.
Interesting. But nope, not going to be using
Holding that one back. Okay, looking into Darwin's hand.
I mean, this is far from being over. We know that Darwin is on Field Breakers. He has a lot of useful cards. For example, Forbidden Droplet could be big. And let's see if he has opened any of them.
Taking a long, hard think about this. I did only get a quick glimpse at his hand. We did see that there was a couple of spells among them. Whether one of them is the almighty, all-powerful super pulverization could be a very, very interesting one here. Ooh, XYZ Encore. Very, very good card to be having on this one. So this is going to stop the Abyss Dweller being able to utilize its effect, but Detonator is still alive and kicking on the field.
Yeah, it is a very popular side deck card this weekend, mostly to prevent Abyss Dweller from activating, and obviously can be an effective response against the Detonator, and also the Eclipse Twin opening, because it sends it back to the graveyard, not back to the extra deck, so not really able to special summon it.
Yeah,
But
very, very interesting choice. It always kind of puts it in perspective on the stuff like this when you're facing down two incredibly very powerful XYZ monsters in the form of Dweller and then, of course, Detonator. Which one you value more than the other in regards to what could disrupt your strategy? So very easily traded one card for, technically one card on that one, still 5 more for Darwin to utilize here. And it looks like we're going to be going with another XYZ Encore, a second XYZ Encore to attempt to deal with that Detonator.
wow, I mean, we mentioned it. It's far from being over. It's not artworks per turn, I believe. Let me check. I mean, it's not too common that it would happen.
Correct. So
It is not. Yeah.
yeah, soft once per turn, and then if a monster card in the graveyard among those detached XYZ materials, you special summon as many as possible,
Yep.
so allowing to bring back the node and of course the Ext, but we're not going to be able to work our way into either an XYZ monster, which obviously also shuts off the cross, leaving Corey with a very still sizable wall of Raziel monsters, but nowhere near the level of what a Detonator and Abyss Dweller could have been.
Not. Obviously, the goal in this case is, I mean, you pretty much take away the cross, you take away the XYZs, and you hope that they are not going to have other responses. And this is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
because
very, very interesting.
The interruptions from Cody that we know don't really interact here. So he's going to be able to at least make a play, but he's only on 2 more cards.
Yeah.
That is Darwin.
So this could be where it becomes very, very important because we knew that there was that call by the Grave for Corey to potentially protect himself from hand traps during his combos. But now it looks like we're going to use that as a disruption, possibly for Darwin's plays instead.
Are we really, though?
Yep.
Okay,
There we
are
go.
going to go over the AIRPODS, it seems.
Yeah, this now puts Darwin in a position that he has to have opened up a second form of AIRPODS in order to kind of push himself for an ideal Mirror Jade kind of play. And you don't ever really want to be banishing the Aluba, the Albion itself. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any more responses from Darwin on this one. Possibly a branded in red. It looks like Darwin does have an answer to this. Thinking long and hard about this one. It is a branded in red.
Wow.
Very, very big card right there. Brandon in red being able to add the Albaz back from the graveyard. This would be very interesting because he now needs to try and resolve Branded in red as much as he possibly can. And he's hoping to still probably save the effect of Albion as well to see where it can go from here.
Yeah, it can be a bit intricate, but no, apparently it's not going to go over, and it's just going to resolve the Albion instead, going for that Mirror Jade.
Yeah, very, very good approach there. He obviously values the remaining cards in his hand quite a bit in comparison, or they might just be all more spell or field breakers. Being able to go to the battle phase, at least Mirror Jade might be able to clear both of these cards off of Corey's field.
At the same time, this might be just a tad too fair if it's the only thing left.
Yeah, well, we know he's on 2 Branded in red, so being able to send the Albion can be quite interesting here to get a second Branded in red if he chooses to. There is a Despia in the graveyard that will allow him to conduct a fusion summon. So off of this Branded in red, it could work him into a Guardian Chimera.
We ash it every time, right?
Yeah, 100%. You can't let this happen.
I mean, you can ash it since it also can add the card.
Correct.
Doesn't just set it. So I think it's a no-brainer. And yes, Cody agrees. This is big. Only this face down, the Mirror Jade cannot activate its effect again. So it's going to come down to this last face down card. Cody might have done it after surviving double XYZ Anchor.
Yeah, especially when you are taking Bonfire off of the top of the deck as well. Being able to also have that backed up with the 7th Tachyon. This can very easily work its way into 2 searches, so a single Ash Blossom wouldn't be enough to really stump the fires of Raziel. Still be able to work its way into either a Detonator or a Duo Drive. The only thing that Corey probably needs to navigate is maybe the the field destruction of the Mirror Jade as well. Oof, going straight into the Ext. We're going to be sending an Eclipse Twins. There comes the Duo Drive, equipped in the Eclipse Twins. And now straight away there is that protection thanks to there being a material on a Raziel XYZ monster off of the back of the cross.
This is so huge from Corey. Again, hasn't really used those Mitsurugi at all. But, I mean, sometimes the Raziel just get there.
Yeah, I think Darwin did incredibly well on the previous turn to be able to try and navigate around. I feel the call by the grave was maybe something he wasn't fully expecting. As I spoke to our previous players on previous feature rounds, they mentioned that when you see a set card along the spell and trap zone, more times than not you default to believing it being an infinite impermanence, and then call by the grave is something that's a lot less at the further back of the minds. So that definitely deteriorated Darwin's original plans for what he may have had, especially with the Albaz and Albion, and then having to use the branding in red to make sure the Albaz was still in access to himself. So with the duo drive now currently have 2 materials, and it looks like we could possibly be working our way into the Feral Imp, so you are getting your wishes on this one.
Finally. Finally some good old ritual action coming our way, possibly.
Yeah. Already hard opening up the access to the ritual monster, not even needing to conduct our normal summon as of yet, still having access to the 7th Tachyon. This is going to start opening up the door to the Mitsurugi engine, which can, in theory, you don't really need to worry about the end phase effect of the Mirror Jade if you're able to complete the OTK at that particular point or reduce your opponent's life points to 0. And I feel that that's exactly what Corey is going to be looking to do right here, right now.
For sure. And yeah, this is quite the impressive acolytes. As you can see, we're gonna go for the Raigeki effect, it seems like. Getting rid of this Mirror Jade and threatening enough damage to close this one out.
Yeah, Darwin just having a look to see if there is a branded opening in that graveyard, unfortunately.
And reveals a forbidden droplet. Is that really going to do anything here?
No, I think Darwin noticed that one there, even reducing the attack of the Ritual Monster. We still currently have a decent amount of attack just on the duo drive itself, alongside with the King of the Feral Imps. So it might stop lethal as it currently stands, but I can't imagine that Corey is going to end it there. Yeah, here we go. So being able to tribute off the Ritual Monster to go into the other one, and then work back the Ritual Monster, so even with the attack stats halved, we're still going to be able to add some more to the field and bring it back at full power. And that's it.
And
they wrap it up.
Is. So